Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by. And in this video, I'll be showing you the speech I gave from my art show, Painting in the Dark. I gave the speech on October 20th, 2024 at Warhorse Ink in Ravenna, Ohio. Just to give a quick recap, the story is about my recovery through depression. And thank you to Clint Marsh, owner of Warhorse Ink, for supporting the art show and giving me the stage to have a little discussion and show some art about mental health topics. Enjoy the speech, guys.
Hey everybody, I'm Clint. I'm the owner of this establishment. And I would like to say on behalf of myself and the family here at Warhorse, we really appreciate you guys coming out here and supporting this event. It means a lot to us. I know it means a lot to Steve. Steve Canera came to us a couple years ago from Los Angeles, a very talented artist, looking for a place to work, and luckily we snagged him first. And the last 2 years I've learned a lot about Steve, and I'm really happy to tell you that it was a good idea to bring him on. Not only is he an extremely talented artist and just an all-around great guy, he is also a wonderful mentor to some of the younger artists here. A lot of the guys really appreciate and learn from him, and they pick up a lot of skills, and you can ask anybody here that he is such an asset to this team that when he came to me and asked to do this event, I was more than happy to oblige. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for coming out, and I'm not going to get too much into what Steve's going to talk about. I'll leave that to him, but without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Steve Canera.
All right, how's everyone doing? Good. All right, thank you so much for coming out. This is awesome. I am honored and privileged that everyone would show up tonight. I have friends who I consider family, even from Los Angeles, the West Coast, where I used to live. So thank you. All right, here we go. So by now, you guys have looked at the paintings a little bit, and you read about the title of the show, Painting in the Dark. So these paintings tell a story about a 1.5-year depression that I went through that thankfully ended in July this year, 2024. They narrate how I navigated through dark caverns of depression. They also show the resiliency that I had to make my way through the depression and into more light. Along the way, I picked up tools that helped me get through the darkness, get through black gravel, and stand here today and be able to have this show. The show was the paintings were like a video game, to where if anyone's played a video game, you have to conquer each level to get to the next. And as I was going through this process, I had to be with each painting until it was over, until I got out of it whatever I needed to. And I didn't know when it was going to be over. I just knew I was going through something when I accepted the state of depression. So in the aftermath of going through all this, I felt too much had happened, that I wanted to make a spectacle of this. And for kind of the beatdown that I took through this, I was like, I'm gonna give it back even stronger, and not as much like I'm gonna stand on stage, but just tell my story of what happened. So with that said, you guys ready? Okay, so part one is the beginning. I want to welcome you all to the eulogy of my depression. I say this because I'm giving praise and thanks to the end of that season in my life. So the story begins in 2017 when my wife and I, Courtney, decided to move to California from Cleveland, Ohio. We traveled halfway across the world to Europe, US, Mexico, traveled a lot, went to LA, developed a lot of friendships, and no problem, we can do this. So we decided to pack up our big 2,000 square foot home in Fairview Park, and I trekked cross country with my brothers for the ultimate road trip. So we're traveling, and the Midwest was in my rear view mirror, and my middle fingers were held high. I wanted out of Ohio. I was done with the snow, done with everything. So we make it to LA. Life's going to be great. And we get settled into our one-bedroom home in a house that we shared with 4 other people. So a little bit of trauma, but no problem. All systems go. We're going to do this. I started to look for tattoo shops where to work at in LA. And I was flying back to Cleveland to work on current customers, just to keep money flowing. And everything was going great, no problem, until my body decided to slam on the brakes and said, you know what, we've had enough. And in 2018, Christmas time, Cordy and I were going onto a plane. I've traveled plenty of times, long travels, 15-hour flights. No problem. But this time we were walking onto the plane, and I started sweating profusely, and didn't know what was going on. My heart rate's going a little bit, stronger, and I'm just like, boy, let's get a little hot in here, get a little hot, walking on the plane. I'm a big person, so everything was, the walls were closing in. Let's just say that. So get on the plane. I put all my luggage away and everything. I run into the bathroom, and splashing water on my face, smacking myself in the face, and just tell myself, come on, get into game mode. You've gotten tattooed before, you've played sports before, you can do this. But nothing was working, and I felt that my mind was unraveling, and I didn't know what was going on. It was freaking me out, and I was having my first panic attack, and it was like, holy shit, what's going on? So it was really scary. So I talked to a stewardess, and I was like, hey, when do one of those bay doors close? And they're like, in about 5 minutes. I'm like, okay. So I sit next to my wife. I made a very fast decision, and I had my iPhone and iPad in my lap, looked at her, threw it in her lap, and I said, see you in Ohio. And I ran off the plane like the devil himself was chasing me. So, not embarrassing, So... good times. Anyway, so I get off the plane. I don't know what's going on. My mind is, I'm unraveling and just trying to find stability to anything. Courtney takes off, goes to Ohio. I take a taxi back to our home in LA. I take a nap that day, got up around 2 in the afternoon, and I was like, okay, come on, shake it off. You're better than this. This is not going to beat you. And so I decided to pack up the car and took my first cross-country trip to Cleveland from LA. So no big deal. I'm stronger than this. I can do this, So for about the next year, 2019, panic attacks got even worse. They would happen at random times wherever I might be. One example is I was with my brother Ron on the beach in LA, and I started freaking out. Like, I didn't have a way out, and I didn't know what was going on. Planes would fly over my head, and I was just getting scared senseless. I just didn't know what to do. I'd walk into a room, and I was looking for a way out right away. Like, just really felt trapped, and the walls were closing in. Thankfully, I through probably my wife and another good friend when I was out in LA, just probably encouraged me to see a therapist, and I did. And the first one I saw, and the few others that I saw were godsend. So I did that for about, like I said, for a year, and dealing with panic attacks, trying to get through it, using tools that therapists taught me, such as just breathing, simple breathing, just taking a breath. By then, 2020 hit. The nightmare of the pandemic didn't help. Courtney and I decided to come back to Ohio and to be with our family. From there, triggers would develop, meaning I was getting blindsided by panic attacks, fierce anger, and unrelenting fear, and my reactions were horrible, harsh, and unfortunately my wife probably bore the brunt of it all. But I kept my nose to the grind, kept working, tattooing, painting. Kept seeing therapists. So from there, sorry, I'm just moving a little track here. Kept seeing therapists, and I knew that just this nightmare was continuing, and wouldn't stop. So after a few trips to Cleveland, I eventually drove 12 times from Cleveland to LA because, like I said, flying scared the shit out of me, and would drive a lot. One of those trips, we adopted a dog, cattle dog. If anyone knows about a working breed, don't take it to LA, okay? So they don't belong there. That was traumatizing. It was just a lot was going on, trying to deal with the panic and the fear and everything. And one afternoon, we're just being a family. We're just trying to find a home of our own, and we're looking at home prices, and home prices were astronomical, and seemed like everything was $750,000. And I was like, there's just no way. There's just no way we're going to be able to buy a home. And it was that afternoon that I felt like that the mountain of living in LA was unattainable. We were both just it was like a blow to the gut, basically. So we decided to move back to Ohio and call it quits. So we moved back to Ohio. We packed up home again, truck back cross country, and I came back to Ohio 2022 just lost. I was just so lost. Just didn't know what to think of myself, who I was, what's going on. And one part that I forgot to tell you about 2020, probably because it was so horrible, was that I lost our first dog, and both of our dads, and family and friends, and then of course the pandemic didn't help. So it was just blow to the gut. And by the time we got back home to Ohio, I was deflated, man. I just didn't want to create anymore, but I kept trying. I kept pushing. And thankfully, in the fall 2022, I heard of the name Warhorse, and never heard of Warhorse, didn't know anybody here. Checked them out, and as Clint mentioned, he brought me on. And thank you, Clint and Megan, for bringing me on. I felt very welcome here. I felt very loved, and it was a fresh and clean slate from just everything I was dealing with. And the coolest thing of that is I got to work with my cousin here, so it was feeling good. Everything was feeling good, but inside, in contrast, I was being torn apart. I felt like a tsunami of depression was just forcing me to the ground, like I've never felt before, and just didn't make any sense whatsoever. But I kept fighting, and daily I was struggling with enjoying the shop, getting to know everybody here, and then inside just being in freaking turmoil, not knowing what to do. So eventually I hit my basement floor, and probably the worst part of the story is just walking around one afternoon or evening. I was walking around the backyard, pacing back and forth, and I'm like, is this it? Should I just end it all and be done with it? Contemplated that part, and I said no. I was like, that's not a solution. That can't happen. And then my mind travels to, should I hurt other people? And I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? I really felt like I had no control of my mind. Maybe that's what losing your mind is like. I don't know. Maybe that was it. But I felt like it was like just good and evil running through my mind, unchecked, no walls up, like it almost like it was supposed to happen or something like that. And I didn't get it. But I said, those are not solutions. That cannot happen because there's too much hurt that that would be caused on my account for selfishness. And I was like, that's not an answer. That's not acceptable. So I made myself think, critical think of a solution. Like, okay, then you have to come up with something. So I told myself, just pacing back and forth, and I told myself, you can sell a painting for half price. And the light went off in my head, and I turned my mind to business. And I said, you can focus on business. You can start immersing yourself in business. So I did. And I think that was the point where the universe met me with answers. I started getting answers. I started getting some kind of solutions. Now, also during that time, I felt like I had to paint. And I didn't want to paint. My arm was, I was in a severe pain from 25 years of painting and about 10 years of tattooing. And I had just no motivation, just wanted to stop painting, wanted to stop creating. And so I had like this me talking to me moments to where it's like, oh, what are you going to do? Paint with your left arm because I'm right hand dominant? And self is saying, well, yes, you are. And so I'm like, I don't know who I'm talking to right now, but okay, I guess we're going to do this. So I start painting, and art became my therapy. Art was my weapon against the darkness, big time. So after the first two paintings here, I was like, you know what, I don't want to paint skulls. I don't want to paint like creatures and evil and junk like that. It's like I want to, paint something that gives me happiness, and something that gives eternal love. So I thought of animals, and that's the third painting in here. And I titled it "Can't Hurt Me." The third and fourth one are like that because those, I guess, were my love. That's man, it's just love. I was like, I have to feel love. I can't just feel, darkness. And it was just like wearing me thin, just like too thick. Okay, so I keep painting, keep tattooing, get my nose to the grind, keep working through it. And finally, in 2023, number 9 was due. The only male character, the only human character, Solemn, was created. And I feel like that was finally the break in the storm, to where I had some peace of mind finally. I was picking up a lot of tools by just applying. Number one, I recognized and I accepted I was depressed and deflated. I'm like, okay, I'm in this thing. We've got to get out of it. We've got to get to this dark tunnel. So I applied myself, and a lot of the universe was meeting me where I was at. Let's just say that. A lot of people were coming into my life, and a buddy of mine, a good buddy of mine, a best friend, was talking to me about gratitude. So I turned my attention from myself to other people, and just started thinking or saying good things to people. I would call friends and just tell them how thankful I am for them, or send them texts or something like that. And I knew I had to take the attention off of myself. I was learning about positive vibrations that you give and that you don't give. So if you're very negative, no one wants to be around you. If you're very positive, people want to be around you. And I think that's where the universe just kind of like starts bringing more answers, because I was applying myself to wanting to get out of this. So little by little, inch by inch, painting by painting, got better and better. And I knew earlier this year, 2024, let's say March, something like that, I wasn't deflated anymore. Like I worked hard enough to get out of it, So that's like the last few paintings after the character Solemn was created. The last few paintings didn't feel so dark and nasty. Like I knew I was coming out of it, but I had to stick with it as long as I was supposed to. Like I said, it was a year and a half, and I was like, oh my God, that's a long time. So by July 2024 this year, I knew I was out of the depression. When my older brother was visiting from Los Angeles, where he lives, and we were doing some very cool things like baking my mom's cookies and just having a good time, just hanging out, And so I'm telling him about the experience, and he was with me. A lot of close family was with me from the beginning. And all of a sudden I said, I'm not depressed anymore. And I was like, wait a second. I was like, I'm not depressed anymore, Jake. So I I knew I was out of it, and I was like, wow, that it was just like the frog boiling in water. It kind of like slid into the depression, and then as the water got cooler, slid right out of it. So the last part I'll say with that is I live now equipped and capable of getting through the dark times. Times are still challenging, times get rough, but it's amazing when, like, okay, I've been through that, there's the accountability. And I want to write the book and do the shirts and showcase the paintings. I really didn't want to do it because I didn't want to be on camera. I didn't want to say anything, but I was like, you know what, there's a bigger message than myself, and the more people I talk to through work. When I tattoo, I do a lot of memorial tattoos, so there's a lot of death. But apparently I can take it on or something like that and be there for people, so cool. Last thing I'll say is there's 2 messages I got out of this, which were awesome. There's always a way out. There's always a way out of the darkness, no matter what level of hell you're in, there's always a way out. The second one is check on your friends, because we're all connected. So thank you, good night, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thanks, Steve, so much for sharing that. I know that took a lot. I think we can all agree that that was a brave thing that you just did, and we really appreciate your insight on that. I know a lot of people here, there may be some people here dealing with the same kind of things, or we know people that are dealing with the same kind of situation that Steve just talked about, and that's what this is all about, is reaching out to those people and making sure that you're there for them, that you understand what they're going through. Sometimes that's all it takes. So thank you so much again, Steve, for doing that. We really appreciate it. Can we get another round of applause for Steve?
So last thing is, of course, thank you, Clint, for bringing me on. I really do love being here. It's cool working with this guy. My cousin, he works there. I work back there, and I've gotten to know everyone pretty well and everything. So it's cool being here and everything. Thank you, of course, to my beautiful wife, Courtney, for being a great wife. And my mother and my younger brother, Mark, my older brother, Ron, and my best friend, Ian, and all the people along the way. But I know I gave the speech and everything, but I mean, man, it's like I have the story in the book. I put tools and resources in there that I personally learned, and this night is for and I said it in the summary there, if my darkness can help anybody, get through theirs, then it was worth it, and just now it's about thriving, and not just surviving. So have a good night. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.